The moment I knew my brother Michael would destroy me wasn't when he called security to drag me out of Chin Industries headquarters. It wasn't even when he announced to the board that I had betrayed the family legacy. No, I knew the truth 3 weeks earlier when I caught a glimpse of something I wasn't supposed to see. I'm David Chin, and until yesterday I was the Chief Technology Officer of Chin Industries, the tech empire our father built from nothing. Our company revolutionized smart home security, making us one of Silicon Valley's most respected names. But more importantly, it was our family's legacy, the dream Dad had sacrificed everything to build. David, you're too cautious, Michael would always say during our executive meetings, his perfectly tailored suit matching his carefully crafted image of the bold, visionary suit. The market waits for no one. We need to take risks to stay ahead. But I knew better. As CTO, I saw the vulnerabilities in rushing products to market. Our reputation was built on trust, on the promise that our security systems were unbreakable. One mistake could destroy everything Dad had built. Dad understood that. Before his sudden heart attack last year, he'd always balanced Michael's aggressive growth plans with my careful approach to development. Your brother dreams big, David, he told me during our last conversation in his hospital room, but you're the one who makes those dreams safe. Promise me you'll keep watching out for him. I promised. I didn't know then that trying to keep that promise would cost me everything. The beginning of the end started with Project Phantom, our most ambitious development yet. An AI-driven security system that could predict and prevent breaches before they happened. It was revolutionary, and dangerous in the wrong hands. That's why I insisted on extended testing, much to Michael's frustration. We're losing market share to NetGuard every day, he argued during one particularly heated board meeting. Their inferior product is out there while we sit on game-changing technology. We need to launch now. I stood my ground. The neural network still has vulnerabilities. Rush this and we risk exposing our clients to unprecedented security threats. Give me 3 more months to. 3 months. Michael laughed, but there was no humor in it. In 3 months, NetGuard will own the market. We're launching in 3 weeks. That's when I noticed something odd. Michael's longtime assistant Sarah wouldn't meet my eyes. She'd worked with us since Dad started the company and I knew all her tells. She was hiding something. Later that night I stayed late at the office reviewing the Project Phantom code for the 1000th time. That's when I saw it, a strange pattern in the server logs. Someone had been accessing the project files at odd hours, copying massive amounts of data. The security cameras showed Michael entering the building at 2 a.m. 3 nights in a row. Nothing unusual there. My brother often worked late. But why was he meeting with James Wilson, NetGuard CEO, in his office? I enhanced the lobby camera footage, my heart pounding. The head of our biggest competitor sneaking into our building in the middle of the night. Something was very, very wrong. The next day I quietly began my own investigation. I discovered that Michael had set up a shell company 6 months ago. Large sums of money were flowing from NetGuard into this company's accounts. The pieces were falling into place, forming a picture I didn't want to see. My brother, our CEO, was selling out our family company. I confronted him privately first, hoping there was an explanation. Michael, I know about the meetings with Wilson. Whatever you're planning. Always the detective, aren't you, little brother? Michael's smile didn't reach his eyes. Did Dad make you promise to babysit me before he died? To make sure I didn't mess up his precious company? This isn't about Dad. It's about what's right. If you're sharing Project Phantom data with NetGuard, you need to be careful, David. Michael's voice turned cold. Throwing around accusations like that could be dangerous. For everyone. The threat was clear, but I couldn't let it go. Dad's voice echoed in my head. Promise me you'll keep watching out for him. I spent the next week gathering evidence, carefully documenting everything. The late-night meetings. The shell company. The data transfers. I stored it all on an encrypted drive, protected by security protocols I'd designed myself. What I didn't know was that Michael was watching me watch him. The morning it all fell apart, I arrived at the office to find the board already assembled. Michael stood at the head of the table, his expression grave. Ladies and gentlemen, he began as I walked in, I've called this emergency meeting because I've discovered something disturbing. We have a traitor in our midst. My blood ran cold as he turned to face me. David Chin, you're fired, effective immediately. Security will escort you out. What? I looked around the room, seeing a mix of shock and disappointment on the board members' faces. On what grounds? Michael clicked a remote and emails appeared on the screen behind him. Emails that appeared to show me sharing company secrets with NetGuard. Emails I'd never seen before. Our security team discovered these last night, Michael announced. My own brother selling out our family company. Those are fake. I protested, but security was already moving toward me. Michael's the one meeting with NetGuard. He set up a shell company too. A desperate attempt to deflect blame. Michael cut me off smoothly. Security, please remove him before he embarrasses himself further. As the guards grabbed my arms, I looked at Sarah. She was crying silently, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. She knew the truth, but she was too afraid to speak up. Who'll believe the family failure now? Michael whispered as I was dragged past him. You were always too cautious, brother. Too afraid to take risks. Now everyone will know why Dad always trusted me more. They threw me out onto the street, my badge and phone confiscated. 10 years of work, gone in 10 minutes. But Michael had made one crucial mistake. In his rush to destroy me, he'd forgotten about the one security system I'd installed personally in his office. The one that ran on my own private servers, recording everything 24/7. As I stood there on the sidewalk watching the guards return inside, I touched the small key card hidden in my wallet. Michael thought he'd won. He thought he'd destroyed all the evidence of his betrayal. He was wrong. The next phase of this game was about to begin, and my brother was about to learn that sometimes, the cautious approach is the deadliest of all. The first rule of security is patience. That's something Dad taught me long before I became Chin Industries CTO. The best security experts, he'd say, are the ones who think like their opponents, who take the time to understand every angle before making their move. For 3 days after my public humiliation, I did nothing. I stayed in my apartment, blinds drawn, watching the business news channels report on my betrayal. Michael played his part perfectly, giving sorrowful interviews about how discovering his brother's treachery had broken his heart. The evidence was undeniable, he told TechWatch News, his expression carefully crafted to show just the right mix of anger and sadness. As CEO, I had no choice but to protect our company, our employees, and our clients' trust. I almost admired his performance. Almost. On day 4 I made my first move. The key card in my wallet wasn't just a key card. It was a secure access point to my private server network. While Michael was busy erasing evidence of his meetings with NetGuard, he'd forgotten about the one security system he couldn't access. In my home office, I activated the encrypted connection. Multiple screens came to life, showing months of surveillance footage from Michael's office. Every late-night meeting. Every secret phone call. Every document he thought he'd destroyed. But I needed more than just evidence. I needed allies. Sarah, Michael's assistant, was my first target. I knew she was scared, but I also knew she had a conscience. At exactly 7:15 p.m., when she always stopped at Sterling's Coffee after work, I was waiting. David. She nearly dropped her latte when she saw me. I can't talk to you. Michael has something on you, doesn't he? I kept my voice gentle. That's why you couldn't speak up at the board meeting. Tears filled her eyes. He found out about the money. The loans I took for my mother's cancer treatment. He said he'd have me arrested for embezzlement if I didn't help him. I can protect you, Sarah. But I need to know everything. Over the next hour, she told me how Michael had orchestrated my downfall. The fake emails. The doctored security logs. But more importantly, she told me about Project Aurora. The real reason Michael was meeting with NetGuard. He's not just selling them Phantom, she whispered. He's helping them steal everything. Patents, client data, trade secrets. Once the merger is announced next month, NetGuard will own it all, and Michael gets a controlling stake in the combined company. A hostile takeover disguised as a merger, I muttered. Dad would be spinning in his grave. There's more, Sarah said. The board meeting, the real one, is scheduled for next Friday. Once they approve the merger, it's over. 10 days. I had 10 days to stop my brother from destroying our father's legacy. My next stop was Marcus Wong, our head of cybersecurity. Marcus had been with the company since the beginning, and I knew he'd had doubts about Michael's leadership. Those server logs Michael showed the board? Marcus said when I met him secretly at his boat on the marina. They were good fakes, but they weren't perfect. I spotted some inconsistencies, but by then you were already gone. Will you help me, Marcus? He grinned. I thought you'd never ask. I've been gathering my own evidence, but I couldn't access your private security network. Together we began building an airtight case. Marcus helped me decrypt the surveillance footage, matching it with network traffic logs that proved Michael had been transferring classified data to NetGuard. Sarah, protected by ironclad legal agreements I had drawn up, provided internal documents showing how Michael had systematically weakened the company's defenses, making it vulnerable to the takeover. But we needed one more piece: proof that Michael was behind the fake emails used to frame me. That meant getting into his private office, accessing his personal computer. "He's reinforced all the security since you left," Marcus warned. "There's no way to get in without being caught." "We don't need to get in," I said, remembering something Dad had taught me long ago. "We just need him to let us in." The plan was dangerous but perfect in its simplicity. Using Marcus's access, we triggered a series of small security breaches throughout the building. Nothing serious, just enough to make Michael paranoid. "He'll want to check if anyone's discovered his secret files," Sarah confirmed. "He always logs in personally when he's nervous." He was right. At 1:43 a.m. on Tuesday, Michael's private login appeared on our monitoring screen. The same login that would let us trace the fake emails back to their source. "Got you, brother," I whispered, watching the evidence accumulate. Just like Dad taught us, the best security expert thinks like their opponent. But Michael wasn't done playing his cards. As we tracked his digital footprint, another alert popped up on Marcus's screen. "David, he's moving up the board meeting," Marcus said, his face pale. "It's not on Friday anymore. It's tomorrow morning." Sarah's phone buzzed with a calendar update. "Emergency board meeting 8 a.m. Merger vote and immediate press announcement to follow." I looked at the evidence we'd gathered. It was good, but was it enough? And could we get it to the right people in time? "We need a decision now, David," Marcus said. "If we're going to move, it has to be tonight." I stared at the surveillance footage still playing on my screen. Michael in his office, shaking hands with NetGuard CO, laughing about how easy it had been to get rid of his troublesome brother. Dad's voice echoed in my head. "Promise me you'll keep watching out for him." I had watched. I had waited. And now it was time to act. "Call every board member," I told Sarah. "Send them this address. Tell them if they want to know the truth about Michael Chin and Project Phantom, be here at 6 a.m. "What are you going to do?" Marcus asked. I smiled, thinking of the one security system Michael had never known about. The one Dad and I had installed together years ago when the company was still young. "I'm going to show them exactly who my brother really is. And this time, everyone will believe the family failure." As Sarah and Marcus left to make their calls, I sat down at my computer and began preparing for the most important presentation of my life. In less than 12 hours, either I would save our father's company, or Michael would destroy it forever. The clock was ticking, and this time there would be no second chances. At 5:45 a.m., I stood in the conference room of the Four Seasons Hotel, reviewing our presentation one final time. The evidence against Michael was displayed across 6 large screens, each telling part of the story of his betrayal. Marcus had arranged everything perfectly, ensuring each piece of evidence was irrefutable. First board member arriving, Sarah's voice came through my earpiece. She was stationed in the lobby, coordinating with hotel security to ensure only authorized personnel entered. "It's Eleanor Matthews." Eleanor had been on our board since the beginning. She'd known Dad personally and had always been skeptical of Michael's aggressive expansion plans. As she entered the conference room, her eyes widened at the display. "David," she said softly, "what is all this?" "The truth, Mrs. Matthews. Please take a seat. Everything will be explained once everyone arrives." By 6:15 a.m., 11 of our 13 board members were present. Only Michael and James Wilson's recently appointed representative were missing. The room hummed with tense whispers as board members studied the screens, recognized faces in surveillance photos, began to understand the scope of what they were seeing. At 6:20 a.m. my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Michael just entered the building." Perfect timing. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, standing at the head of the conference table. "Thank you for coming at such an early hour. I know many of you still believe I betrayed Chin Industries. Today I'm going to show you what really happened." The door burst open. Michael stood there, his usually perfect appearance slightly disheveled, his face contorted with rage. "This is completely inappropriate," he shouted. You have no authority to call a board meeting. Security. Your security team isn't coming, Michael, I said calmly. They're currently busy dealing with some interesting files Marcus found in the system. Files that prove you've been selling our technology to NetGuard. More baseless accusations, Michael sneered, but I saw the flash of fear in his eyes. The board has already seen the evidence of your guilt. You mean these emails? I clicked a button, and the fake correspondence appeared on the main screen. The ones that were created on your private server? The ones that, when examined by forensic experts, show clear signs of manipulation. Another click and the forensic analysis appeared, highlighting the digital signatures that proved the emails were forgeries. That's impossible, Michael whispered. You couldn't have accessed your private server? The one you thought was secure. I smiled. Brother, you forgot who designed our security systems in the first place. I turned to the board. 3 weeks ago, Michael began secret meetings with James Wilson, CEO of NetGuard. Their plan was simple. Weaken Chin Industries from within, then orchestrate a merger that would effectively give NetGuard control of all our technology, including Project Phantom. The surveillance footage played across the screens. Michael and Wilson in late-night meetings exchanging documents, laughing over drinks as they planned the destruction of everything our father had built. When I discovered this, Michael framed me for corporate espionage. He thought he'd destroyed all evidence of his meetings, but he forgot about one security system, the one Dad and I installed when we first started the company. The one that records everything. Eleanor Matthews leaned forward. Everything. Everything, I confirmed and played the damning audio. Once the merger goes through, Michael's voice filled the room, Chin Industries effectively ceases to exist. NetGuard absorbs all patents, all technology. David's out of the way, the board trusts me, and no one will ever know what really happened. The color drained from Michael's face. You can't prove. Actually, Sarah stepped into the room holding a thick folder. He can. These are the original documents showing your shell company, the money transfers from NetGuard, and your instructions to falsify evidence against David. Sarah. Michael's voice cracked. You're working with him? I'm doing what's right, she said firmly. What I should have done from the beginning. For the next hour we laid out the entire conspiracy. The board sat in stunned silence as we revealed how their CEO had systematically worked to destroy the company from within. When we finished, Eleanor Matthews was the first to speak. I move for an immediate vote to remove Michael Chin as CEO and press criminal charges for corporate espionage. Seconded, another board member said quickly. You can't do this. Michael shouted. I built this company. I made us what we are. No, Michael, I said quietly. Dad built this company. You just tried to destroy it. The vote was unanimous. As security, the real security team, led Michael away, he turned to me one last time. I was right about you, he spat. Always too cautious, always too afraid to take risks. You'll run this company into the ground. I thought about Dad, about the lessons he taught us about patience, integrity, and the true meaning of security. You never understood, brother. Sometimes the biggest risk is moving too fast, wanting too much. Dad knew that. That's why he made me promise to watch out for you. A lot of good that did, he laughed bitterly. Actually, I smiled. I kept my promise. I watched. I waited. And I protected the company from its biggest threat. You. The aftermath was intense but swift. Michael and James Wilson were arrested for corporate espionage. NetGuard's stock plummeted when the scandal broke. Chin Industries? The board unanimously appointed me as CEO with Marcus as the new CTO. Sarah became our chief of staff, her financial troubles resolved with a well-deserved promotion and bonus. She hung Dad's old security company photo in the lobby, a reminder of where we came from and what we stand for. 1 month after Michael's arrest, I sat in what had once been his office, now mine, looking at that same photo. Dad stood between Michael and me, proud of both his sons. I wondered if he'd known somehow what Michael might become. If that's why he'd made me promise to watch out for him. The company is different now. We still innovate, still push boundaries, but we do it the right way, with patience, integrity, and an understanding that true security isn't just about technology. It's about trust. Project Phantom was eventually completed, tested thoroughly, and released to universal acclaim. But its greatest achievement wasn't its advanced AI or its unbreakable encryption. It was the simple lesson it taught us. Sometimes the best way to catch a thief is to let them think they're winning. Michael's trial is set for next month. I'll testify not out of revenge but because it's necessary. Because sometimes protecting what matters means making hard choices. Yesterday, I visited Dad's grave, something I hadn't done since the funeral. I told him everything. Michael's betrayal, my investigation, the final confrontation. As I stood there, I remembered something else he used to say. A security system isn't just about keeping bad things out. It's about protecting what's valuable inside. I protected his legacy, his company, his values. And in doing so, I finally understood what he'd been teaching us all along. Success isn't about being the boldest or the most aggressive. It's about being patient, vigilant, and true to your principles. As for me, I'm no longer the family failure. I'm David Chin, CEO of Chin Industries, and I learned from the best. Some might call my approach too cautious, but I know better. Because sometimes the most powerful move isn't the fastest or the loudest. Sometimes it's the one your opponent never sees coming.